Hello, everyone, and welcome to the virtual 2024 experience for the University of Rochester. This is the session for the Greene Center, and they will be introducing themselves and talking about the services that they offer. So I'm going to hang out off screen and let them go ahead and get started.
Great, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kathy Kayaza, and I'm one of the directors in the Gwen Greene Center for Career Education and Connections at the University of Rochester. I'm also joined today on this webinar with my colleague, Jody Wren, who is the Director of Career Advising, and she's going to be help moderating some of the questions later on in the session. And I'm also joined by my colleagues, Megan Vargalik and Rob DeLeon, who are going to be working in the background here today and answering some of your questions that come through the Q&A box. And I also want to acknowledge that we are all very much missing meeting with you on campus. So this is a particularly exciting time, typically during the academic year, when we get to meet with all of our prospective students and families, get to hear about you and your interests and hopes and dreams for the future. And we're very much missing that time to be with each other. But we're delighted and glad to have some time here today to connect with you, to address your questions, and otherwise share how the Greene Center supports students with their career development at the University of Rochester. So, what we're going to talk about today is how the Greene Center prepares students for the future of work. So what I mean by that is, of course, the U of R wants to support students and prepare them for their first job out of college or their next step out of college once they graduate. But we also want to ensure that students are as prepared as possible for the entirety of their career over their lifetime, and really ensuring that students have the skills in order to be adaptable and successful over the course of their career. So a few of the topics we're going to talk about is how we support students in their career exploration, how we offer personalized connections to students to connect them with our alumni partners and our employer partners, as well as to opportunities to gain experience. We also want to share with you the career outcomes of our graduates. So giving you the information to go and see where our students land after they graduate from the University of Rochester, what are the industries that they're working in, what types of graduate programs they're pursuing, and the great things that they're going on to do after they graduate. We're also going to spend a little bit of time sharing with you how we've been responding to the COVID-19 pandemic and ensuring that we're monitoring the trends and making sure we're continuing to support students to be successful in this environment. And then we'll move over to our Q&A session. But before we dive into these topics, we're going to do something slightly unconventional. And you're probably all going to wonder, why on earth are we doing this? But I promise you we will get there. So I have a little mission for each of you to do at home. So if you're wherever you are, the comfort of wherever you are, if you have a sheet of paper handy nearby, this is just a super quick activity I'm going to ask you to do along with me. Just a simple, plain sheet of paper, doesn't matter. What I'm going to ask you to do is, over the next minute, I'm going to ask you to build from this single sheet of paper the tallest possible freestanding paper tower. Freestanding means no human interference, and all you need is the paper. Again, you cannot use any tape, you cannot use any scissors or glue, just the single paper. So I'm going to throw that mission over to you and ask you to get started. Here we go. I'm going to do it with you. Okay. Like I said, unconventional. So hopefully you had a little bit of fun with that. What I would like you to do right now is actually pull up that Q&A box that I pointed out earlier. And I want you to just freestyle share, what was that like for you? Was it like it was for me and just terrible and did not go well? But go ahead in the Q&A box, write, what was that like for you? How did it go? How did it feel?
Well, I'm going to jump in here, Kathy. This is Jody. That was pretty exciting. Thank you for doing that. I didn't participate myself, but I was excited. I enjoyed watching you, that was for sure.
I'm sure it's very entertaining.
It was very entertaining. Yeah, I got excited by the music, if nothing else. A little James Bond there. So it looks like we're hearing some responses here that it was stressful, fun, energizing. The music made it fun. Added a little bit of pressure, though. I think that's what I was reading into there. I felt the pressure just from the music. There was spontaneity, creativity, kind of frustrating, but fun. Somebody built a cone, so they found success in that as well. So I think overall, a little bit of anxiety, a lot of fun, appreciating the music and the creativity that you brought to it here.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much for indulging me in that little activity and sharing your experience with it. So if it was anything like mine, it did not go as I originally had hoped. I thought I was going to be able to build a tower, but so why did we do this? The reason that we did this is because we wanted to give you all a felt experience that would demonstrate our approach with students. And so to really help you get an understanding of how we approach career education, which is all about trying things out and learning by doing. So what you all just experienced was trying something, and if it didn't work, you likely tried a different strategy, and if that didn't work, you maybe tried a different strategy. And that is all the process that we use and that framework that we use to help students through their career exploration and decision making. So it really was meant to give you a little bit of a taste of the way that we work with students on campus. So it's all about learning through failure, learning what to do and how to respond when things don't maybe go the way that you planned. And it is all of those things that you all just described. It can be stressful. It can be exciting and energizing. It can feel frustrating. All of those things can play a role in students' career development and exploration, but we help give students a framework and we give students personalized tools to help them through this process. So ultimately, what the Greene Center is here to do with our University of Rochester students is to help you design your life through offering you personalized connections to opportunities, resources, and people. So this whole idea of life design is the framework that is part of the framework we just asked you to go through with us. And it is really meant to help students answer the question, that age-old question of, what do I want to do with my life? So many of you maybe already know what you're interested in and what you hope to do in the future. And some of you may not know yet and are just exploring. And so this designing your life framework will help you try different things out for yourself, learn what works and what doesn't work, and continue to explore and try until you find a really good fit for you. And so ultimately, again, like I said, this is about giving you the information and the tools you need to make better, more informed decisions about your career pathways. And the way that we do this is through these personalized connections to opportunities, resources, and people. So I'm going to go through some of those resources and opportunities that are available to the University of Rochester students in order to help them through their career exploration and preparation. So of course, we offer one-on-one advising with career advisors. We also offer students programs, workshops, courses to teach these ideas and to help students explore what their career options are, as well as connect them to opportunities to gain relevant experience, and also to help students develop connections between their academic interests and their career goals. One of the ways that we do this is through something called the career communities. And I'm going to show you a quick video that goes into a little more detail of what those are, but essentially they're one of the ways that the Greene Center organizes the way that we do our work, but it's also a way to help students understand the world of work and how the world of work is made up. And it's a way for students to explore different industries of interest, gather information about those industries, connect to people who work in those fields and sectors of interests, and otherwise connect students to opportunities. So like I said, I'm going to show you a quick video to describe that, and then I'll continue on with sharing some more resources, personalized resources with you. Here we go.
Career communities at the University of Rochester are a way for you to connect with people, information, and resources to explore your interests and connect to potential opportunities. Currently, we have 7 career communities: exploratory, marketing and creative, consulting and finance, engineering and applied sciences, healthcare, social good, and emerging tech. Each community has their own page on the Greene Center website detailing many ways to explore that community, related opportunities and Handshake, typical candidate profiles, recruiting timelines, and online industry resources. We encourage you to be curious and explore any and all career communities that align with your interests. When you pick a community or two, you will receive customized information from the career community team, Greene Center career advisors who can help you navigate the field. Newsletters highlight relevant employer and alumni events, resources and programs, and upcoming internships and job deadlines. Signing up for a career community is easy. You just need to log into Handshake. Click on your name in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. In the drop-down menu, there will be a tab called Career Interests. By answering these questions, Handshake can customize and curate opportunities specific to your interests. Make sure to answer which University of Rochester career clusters best match your interests, as this allows the Greene Center to keep you informed of events and opportunities particular to your career community. And remember, if you have varying interests, we encourage you to join multiple communities. Finally, click on Save My Career Interests at the bottom. Congratulations, you have successfully joined a Rochester career community.
So you heard in that video about a platform called Handshake. Handshake is an engagement platform, or one of the tools that we have that's available to students. And we selected this platform specifically for its ability to personalize and customize the information that it pushes out towards individual students to their interests. So what it is a platform that allows students to search for active internship and job opportunities. It's where they can apply for those. It's where students can schedule an appointment with a career advisor in the Greene Center, where students can find information about, let's say, employers that may be coming to campus or holding virtual events they want to connect with, and sign up for those newsletters that were mentioned in the video from the career clusters or the career communities that students are interested in. So it's a really powerful tool to curate all of that wealth of information that exists out there about careers, and to really curate it towards the individual's interest and career goals, to make things a little bit more streamlined and easier for the student that's using it, and to identify opportunities that are specific to your interest and goals. So that's one of the resources that we have available for students. Another powerful tool that we have available and is exclusive to U of R students and alumni is the Meliora Collective. So the Meliora Collective is a platform. If you are familiar with LinkedIn, it's a very similar idea, but it's exclusive to the University of Rochester community members. So we have upwards of, I think it's more than 4,000 members on the Mel Collective now, but it's a chance for students to get on there. They can search for alumni who maybe graduated with a certain major that they're interested in, and see what those alumni are now doing in the workforce, what kinds of fields and professions they're working in, and they can specifically reach out to those individuals. All of the alumni that are on there because they want to help, they want to mentor, they want to help students connect to opportunities. So they are on there specifically to be a support for our current students who are seeking out information and opportunities. So again, we selected these platforms for their ability to really make this whole career development and job search, internship search process easier on students, and to really funnel the information that's most useful to them and relevant to them directly at their fingertips. So these are some great resources to help students explore, to help them connect and talk to people who are in their networks, broaden their networks, and connect them to opportunities. So we very much believe in those personalized connections, like I said, to help students design their lives. So it's all about testing things out, getting curious, trying things, and connecting to people and resources so that you can then explore those career options, but then actually go and test them out for yourselves and get meaningful opportunities. Okay, so the ways to gain experience. So obviously the Greene Center is here to support students to connect with opportunities such as your traditional internships and research. But we're also available to help students connect to opportunities that they may not traditionally think of as relevant to their future careers. And those include things like on-campus jobs, off-campus jobs, as well as the activities that they're doing beyond the classroom. So that could be a club that you're involved in. It could be the athletics if you're a student athlete. It could be you are working a job in residential life. Whatever that is, inevitably you are building relevant competencies or skills that we know are valuable to employers and graduate schools who are seeking college graduates. And so we help students to identify those connections or make those connections and help them tell their story of how all of the experiences that they're gaining as a U of R student are preparing them for their future careers. The next thing I wanted to draw your attention to is our career outcomes dashboard. I would encourage you to take a look at this. This is an interactive platform that you can go onto our website and actually take a look and see what are University of Rochester graduates doing? Where are they? What industries and sectors are they working in? What employers do they work for? What kind of graduate programs have they gone on to? And just like our tools for current students, this is also customizable to your interests. So if you want to know where did all of the class of 2019 graduates who studied biology, what they went on to do, you can actually go onto this dashboard and filter for those areas of interests and find that information for yourself. So feel free to take a picture or otherwise take note of the URL that's at the top of the screen here. And take note of that and go ahead and play around in this dashboard to take a look and see all of the great things that our University of Rochester graduates are out in the world doing. And lastly, before I open it up to questions, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time sharing with you all how our office has been responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, that this has had a very significant impact on the job market, and we've been working very closely monitoring this with our alumni partners, monitoring this with our employer partners to really have a good understanding and an up-to-date understanding of what that means for the job market for our graduates, what that means for internship opportunities for students. And over the past several weeks, we've been designing resources and tools, virtual resources and tools for students to be able to access information and resources to support them at this time. So our main goal is to ensure that students still have access to opportunities that are active and make sure that they are supported in the best way possible. So all of our advising went virtual. And so students have access to advising staff. They can make same-day appointments to get in with a career advisor. We've also created some videos for students to take a look at. So let's say we have a student getting ready to graduate, and maybe they had a job interview that was scheduled to be in person, but now all of a sudden they have to interview virtually. So how would how would you prepare for a virtual interview? So we have videos and resources on that. We also have resources for students to learn or think about, maybe they had an internship lined up for the summer, but that internship got canceled because of the crisis. So what can students do in light of that? Maybe they can transition that initial internship to a remote or virtual position. We've been working with organizations to identify active projects for students to be working on. Again, virtual internships. So lots of opportunities for students to continue to pursue their career development, even in this environment. We also have been featuring a weekly Ask Me Anything series that our executive director, Joe Testani, has been doing. Literally, he gets on a call for once a week for an hour, and he responds to students' questions, or if we have parents or families who have questions, they can get on there, as well as our community members, to ask him, what are the trends that we're seeing in the job market? How are people responding or anticipating with this recession? Again, to just share information and be as transparent as possible. And we're also interviewing our alumni. Our alumni are such a critical partner and piece of this. We've been putting together podcasts that you can all access as well if you want to go to our website. Podcast interviewing our alumni who maybe went through the recession back in 2008 and can speak to what their experience was then, how they navigated it, what are the similarities between that recession and this one, and what are the differences. Also learning about what are the trends they're seeing in their specific industry sector. What are the ones that maybe there's a boom in their hiring because there's a greater need for it. So a lot of different things that we've been able to curate virtually to offer our students and young alumni to make sure that they're continuing to make progress on their career development and be successful in this environment. So with that, I'll just end before we open it up to questions. We very much believe here at the University of Rochester that career is everywhere. So obviously we spend all of our time in the Greene Center talking about careers with our partners and with students. But we also work very closely with our entire campus community. So that means faculty that you're taking classes with. That means advisors that you're connecting with across campus, staff that you're engaging with, really our entire campus community, so that when you're going through your entire career at the University of Rochester, no matter who you're interacting with, you're able to get support and have a network of support that's going to help prepare you towards your career and help you see all of the connections that are made between the things that you're pursuing as a U of R student and your career preparation. So that's a lot of the work that we do in our center as well, to make sure you're as supported as possible. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions, and Jody is going to join me.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Kathy. I think that was really informative, and I hope our attendees appreciated that as well. Some questions have started to roll in, so I think we're going to begin, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So the first question's around the Meliora Collective. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about when students get access to the Meliora Collective, and then secondarily, how we support them in utilizing the Meliora Collective.
Great question. Yeah, this is such a fun tool, and I love sharing it with students. And then when they get on there, they oftentimes they're nervous to get on there because networking can seem very scary. But when we talk to students about, it's just like asking for directions, right? Really reframing that idea of like, you're connecting with people who want to help you, and they want to help you just as if you were asking them for directions. But students can get on there immediately. So I actually believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've been working to try to get students, as soon as they're admitted, or as soon as they're committed to coming to the University of Rochester, access to the platform. But regardless, as soon as you get here in the fall, you can get right on it and have access to it from that point on forevermore as a University of Rochester community member. We have support to help you learn how to navigate the system, we have short tools or little videos on our website that you can access to help you understand how to use the features in there. But otherwise, any of our advisors can support you with not just navigating the tool itself, but also how do you draft a note to an alum? What do you say? How do you approach the topic? And so we can provide that coaching for you to help you prepare as best as possible. And it's so fun to hear the stories of when students actually go and hit send, and they get a message and they receive a response, you know, pretty quickly. And the alumni are so excited and ready to help and eager to help our students. So that it's a really fun tool.
Yeah, so I just want to follow up on what you mentioned. They do have access to a limited extent of that around the Pathways program. And so that's what they've been playing around with a little bit. And then once they commit and they start, then they will get access to the entire Meliora Collective.
Awesome, thank you.
So they are already playing around in it. So you've gotten a little sneak peek. So there's some questions around internships. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about how we support students internships both here in Rochester, maybe if they were interested in something in the Rochester area or over at Strong Memorial Hospital, but then maybe nationally too, if you could talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a wide variety of ways that students can go about searching for and connecting with internships. And of course, we have, like I mentioned before, Handshake, where employers and organizations are posting internship opportunities. So as we work with organizations, we're having them post those in Handshake so that students can see them. Again, it's all going to be based on your interests. So in the field that you're in, career communities that you're interested in, industries that you're interested in, it will funnel those opportunities to you. So you can find them in Handshake, certainly is one, but we also have very strong connections with our alumni. So we're constantly leaning on our alumni volunteers who maybe have a lead or maybe have a project for students to work on. And so whether that gets posted in Handshake or whether they share that with you on the Meliora Collective, that's another way. But we have partnerships with everywhere from our local organizations all the way to national organizations as well as international. So we want to support our international students who are looking for opportunities globally, as well as even our domestic students who might be looking for opportunities globally. But so just as an example, we have partnerships with local organizations, and I'll tell a quick story right now, that we have relationships with local, in the Rochester area, nonprofit arts and cultural organization through a program called Humanities for Life, and it supports paid summer internships for students. And what we were very excited this year that all of our organizations were able to transition from what otherwise would have been in-person experiences to virtual experiences for the students. So that's one way that we're connecting students to local organizations. But then we also have everything to internship applications where we collect resumes from students and we send resume bundles over to an alum at an organization and they review those for internship opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's been a really amazing partnership that we've been able to create with some of our local employers. Thanks for highlighting that, Kathy.
Sure thing.
So we've got some questions thinking about, their transitioning to college. Maybe they haven't had the opportunity to gain as much experience, or perceived they haven't had as much opportunity to gain. I think I've already answered the question with perceived in there. So how do we help support students in creating their resume or creating opportunities for themselves when maybe they don't see that they've had those opportunities yet?
Absolutely. So I love this question because again, I'm an educator at heart, and I think this is such a powerful opportunity to work with students to help them recognize all of the things that they have already done that are relevant and meaningful towards their career development. So, you all have been admitted to the University of Rochester, and that is all based on the great accomplishments that you've made already in your lives. And so even though it may feel or seem like you don't have experience that you could list on a resume, you absolutely do. And that could be from things that you're doing in your classes, projects that you've worked on, service that you've engaged in your communities. Some students have maybe engaged in some research, even a job, even a part-time job that you might have that you've had to take to, help pay for expenses for maybe your college applications. All of those things that you're doing all have given you all relevant experience and really valuable skills, everything from teamwork to time management, to communication skills, to just name a few. And so our advisors and our team are here to support students to really help you make those connections and tease them out, and to help you tell your story, whether that's through a resume, whether that's through an interview, whatever that might be, but to be able to help you see and recognize and make those connections between the things that you have done, how they've gotten them to where you are, and how they can help you get to where you want to go next.
Thank you so much for answering that. I do think it's important for thinking about what you've already done and being able to reflect on that in a very positive light. So there's
Jody, sorry. I just wanted to mention too, because I think it's important. So in addition to our advising, we also offer collaboration hours where students don't need an appointment, but they can connect with peers who same day, who can help them work on their resume or cover letter, just as an example.
You must have known what my next question was, because that's actually where I'm jumping into. There's some questions around the actual services. So things like how we support students with resume writing, interviewing, networking support, on-campus jobs. So maybe could you just talk about the breadth of advising services that we offer and what some of those topics are?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so thank you. You all are asking such great questions. Yeah, so I mentioned before, we obviously have career advising, one-on-one advising, and students can access those appointments from day one. So you don't have to be a senior getting ready to graduate, right? We really encourage early engagement, and so we're happy to meet with you even from the very beginning. And you can meet with an advisor as frequently as you would like. But you can schedule appointments, whether that is just to explore. So if you aren't even sure where to get started and the idea of careers just seems overwhelming, that is okay, and you are not alone. There are so many students who experience that. And so we have an initial exploratory appointment that you can connect with an advisor about. But also you can schedule appointments to talk about any number of those topics that were mentioned. So if that's an internship search, if that is preparing for interviews, if that is helping to tell your story through a personal statement that you need to write for an application, or a cover letter you're trying to write for an application. But then I also mentioned the collaboration hours, which are really just drop-in hours that students can come in. They don't need to have an appointment, and they can come right in and sit down with a peer career advisor or a career advisor and get some initial support in writing those documents. But then, like I said, we also offer targeted programs and workshops that students can attend. Like I said, we have a lot of our virtual tools and resources students can access. Our goal is to try to make sure that students can access all of our services and resources wherever they are and whenever they need them and want them. So it doesn't have to be the 9 to 5. Well, I can't access this information unless it's during the normal business day. That may not be best for you. You may be coming home from a late practice or studying all night, and you are like, oh gosh, I have this application I'm applying for. How do I write a resume? You can go right onto our website and access those tools to get you started.
Thanks for clarifying, offering some more insights there. So now we've got some questions, I think, around grad school. So shifting our focus to thinking about what they want to do next after they've had some years at Rochester. So wondering if you could talk a little bit about how we support students interested in continuing their education. And then maybe if you could a little bit about how U of R students are successful in their search for grad school?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I appreciate this question too, because a significant amount of University of Rochester students do go on for continuing education. And if you access that job or the career outcomes dashboard that I had referred to earlier, you can actually go on to see that. But students oftentimes, frequently during times of recession, will also look towards graduate programs. And so our office is here to help support students in making those decisions. So understanding ultimately what is their goal, what's the purpose of pursuing continuing education in a graduate program, if it's a graduate or professional program, what are the requirements needed for those programs or needed for the industry and profession you're trying to pursue. So that is going to be all through the career communities that I mentioned, because every industry is going to look a little bit different, whether you're interested in going into healthcare, or you're interested in going into social good, or you're interested in going to engineering. All of those different types of graduate programs are going to look a little bit different in terms of what are the minimum educational requirements needed to work in that field, what are the certification requirements, and what are the experiences, and what do you need to be a good candidate to get into those graduate or professional school programs. So our career communities are a great way to access that information, and our advisors can support you in helping you determine what experiences do you already have, what areas may you need to continue to develop, and then how do you become the best applicant you can be and tell your story when you do go to apply, if that's what you decided ultimately you want to do. But we're here to support you in that decision making, support you in your documentation or materials you need for your application, so such as personal statements, talking through letters of recommendation, all of those aspects. We're ready to support students with continuing their education beyond their bachelor's degree.
Thanks, Kathy. We've got a bit of a follow-up question to that, that's specifically around MD, PhD students, or MD students. Can you talk a little bit more specifically about how we're supporting students interested in medical school or the MD, PhD track?
Sure. Yeah, so many students are interested in pursuing healthcare and specifically career paths in medicine, or in this case, physician researcher. So a couple things that I want to mention. One is that our office, Greene Center, our healthcare career community, actually did one of these webinars. So if you weren't able to view that, that is going to be available on the admissions website for you to access. So I'd encourage you to go and check that out and hear more specifically about how the healthcare community supports students at the University of Rochester in those pathways. But essentially, we have very close relationships with the medical school community, with the national organizations of representing medical schools, and we're following the trends, we're following those requirements constantly to stay on top of, what makes a strong candidate for medical school, or in this case, an MD, PhD candidate, and what are the types of competencies these schools are looking for, what are the types of experiences, whether that's clinical or research or service experience, helping connect students to those experiences. So if you're interested in, pathology, right? Helping connect students specifically to people and resources that are in that field, so you can gain direct, most relevant information and experiences to your needs. And then again, helping students understand what the application process looks like, what's going to be expected, what's the timeline of that application, and prepare you to be the best candidate you can be in those settings. We're fortunate to be associated with a medical center and a medical school, so we have lots of opportunities for students to connect with current medical students. We have a medical school mentoring program where students at the School of Medicine will connect, have some networking events with our undergraduate students. And then our faculty as well at the medical center are eager and willing to connect with students to help them better understand the career field as well as gain experience. Hopefully that answered the question.
It certainly did. Thank you. So I've put a last call out for any questions. We've got a couple running in. Great question. We haven't touched on this yet. Thinking about shadowing. So maybe can you talk about how shadowing can be used as an opportunity to explore?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is such a great thing that not everyone maybe recognizes they can do or is a possibility. But I think it's such a great way to just dip your toe in the water. So shadowing is just observing, right? So it's not quite a sit down conversation like maybe we would do right now to say, let me tell you everything I do as a career educator. But it's also not quite a full internship, right? Where you would commit to a longer term engagement or project. But it gives you some insight just by merely observing somebody do their job. So if it was in the medical field, as an example, to be able to literally be a shadow of someone and observe them go about their day and go about their work. So you can have some insider understanding and context for what is it like to be a physician or a nurse or whatever. And it doesn't have that commitment to it. So it just gives you an opportunity to dip your toe in the water to see, is this something that I thought it was going to be, right? I might be interested in medicine, but I really haven't observed a doctor other than my own primary care physician, wellness visits. But by giving you that exposure, you can decide, gosh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. You know, I'm actually more interested in the pharmacist over here. Or, gosh, this is so fascinating to me. I really want to learn more. Maybe I can go and observe and sit in on a surgery. Or maybe I do want to apply for a volunteer position in the hospital so I can interact with patients more. But it really is a great sort of low commitment, low risk opportunity to gain that initial exposure and test it out for yourself.
That is fabulous. And I think it's really important, those high touch, low cost, low commitment type of opportunities to really do just what we talked about, seeing what it's like, exploring it, and really getting a taste for it. So thank you so much for that.
Okay.
I think our time is up today. We had talked about, I think, a lot of the things we had wanted to touch on. If I see some questions are still coming through, we'll try to get those answered as we end our webinar today. If there's questions that we didn't get to and you still have them, please feel free to reach out. There's contact information on that last slide there, career.center@rochester.edu. Kathy and I would be happy to have continuing conversations with you. Kathy, I just volunteered you. I'm sure you're fine with that.
Absolutely. Send them our way.
Any last minute thoughts, Kathy, that you'd like to leave with our attendees?
Well, I guess I just want to thank you all for joining us today. You know, and I want to wish you and your families well, and hopes that you stay healthy and safe. And otherwise, you know, we hope to be working with you in the future and to supporting you, like I said at the beginning, and your hopes and dreams and goals. And we're excited to hopefully welcome you to our community.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Jody, and thanks all. Take care.
Take care.